Hey, Josh Johnson here. A lot to talk about. We've got rain and storms on the way this weekend. A severe weather threat. Yes, not a big one though. We'll talk about what and when and how much. Beneficial rainfall could help with the ongoing drought in Alabama. I'll give you an update on the drought. We'll talk that through. And then a shot of colder air after this, but the latest data over the course of the last couple of days has backed off a bit on the intensity of that cold air. So maybe we'll call it cooler air and not necessarily colder air on the way there. And then long range, we see signs of an active second half of March. That's not unusual, though. March typically is one of our wildest weather months. Let's dive straight into it here. So we'll begin with a look around the state and a look around the area. Alex City now, you're at 63. Most of us are in the 60s. Auburn's up to 70. Uh, it really depends on your cloud cover situation as far as what the temperature is. Montgomery's at 74 degrees. That's actually one of the warmest spots in the northern two-thirds of the state now. Troy in there at 83. That is probably the warmest in our area at this hour. So 60s, 70s, and 80s, kind of something for everyone right now, again, depending on exactly where you live. So with no further ado, let's talk about this weekend storm threat here. This is the latest run of the high-res rapid refresh. And we'll go back to the beginning here because there have been some changes that I think some of you will like, some of you will not like so much. So let's get into it. First things first, today, the data keeps trending a little better for this afternoon and evening. Yes, there are some sort of nuisance-style showers, maybe a clap or two of thunder, but it's nothing huge. Then some storms pop in southeast Alabama, very similar to yesterday, and as they move north, they sort of weaken a bit. So if you have outdoor plans, Montgomery, Auburn, Lake Martin, Pike Road, that area of north of 85, east of 65, yes, there will be some scattered rain in that mix, but no, at this point, it really doesn't look like anything terribly crazy, right? So that's where we are with that. We have a pretty good read on things. One or two isolated downpours this afternoon into the evening, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, but they're hit or miss. If it does rain, it doesn't last very long. Okay, so we keep on going out in time here. This is overnight Friday night. Things are dry and comfortable. It's a warm night. Then we get to Saturday, and let's emphasize this again because I know the messaging gets muddied on this pretty easily. Most of Saturday is dry. Yes, there is a rain chance. Yes, there is a storm chance. And yes, there is even a severe weather chance. But most of the daytime Saturday is dry. There are a few isolated showers that pop way out ahead of things, but notice I'll pause you here at 5 in the evening. We still are mainly dry across central and south Alabama. Then we get on in towards 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, and you've got this sort of weakening line of showers and storms. And what I'll do here, this is 7 o'clock. See it? Line of storms runs from about Birmingham to Meridian. 8 o'clock, it's about Alabaster to Demopolis. 9 o'clock, it's about, we'll say, Alexander City to Billingsley to Linden. 10 o'clock, it's now closer to Valley, Lynette, Tallahassee, Montgomery, Camden. It is weakening that entire time. Note by 11 p.m., it makes it down to Union Springs, Highland Home, back down towards Monroeville, and there's not much left to this. This is really outrun its main upper level support. The jet stream, we can look at the forecast soundings at this point, and they're just not overwhelming at all. I mean, this is a really wimpy sounding. You've got very weak winds all the way up. I mean, you have to go above 200 millibars to even get to a flag, which to go above 40 and 50 knots, you have to go way up in the air. So weak wind fields aloft. This is just not a tornado sounding at all, and it's probably not a damaging wind sounding either, right? So I'm pretty nonplussed by the chance of severe thunderstorms across the state Saturday. I think the threat would mainly be back here over North Mississippi, Northwest Alabama, Middle Tennessee during the daytime. Now, up there, they're closer to the jet stream dynamics. They have stronger wind fields above their heads, and they have the benefit of this happening in the daytime, which means it's warmer, which means, storms thrive off warmth. So, again, in my view, I just don't see this as being a massive severe weather setup for us here in central and south Alabama. Now, could there, towards the end of this, could you pop up a strong burst of wind in the mix? Sure, you could, but it would be a localized phenomenon where it's really a storm updraft that collapses, wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. And those are A, impossible to predict ahead of time, and B, usually not a very humongous deal, right? If you get one in a populated area, it'll knock the power out, but the odds of that happening are way south of probably 5%. So that's where we are with that part of the storm. I want to walk you through the Storm Prediction Center's sort of guidance on all of this. This is a pretty big severe weather headache for them today. Check this out. This is out in the Central Plains. You've got a pretty large enhanced risk area for Kansas City, back down towards Topeka, Tulsa, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Centerton, Arkansas, places like that. So is this a severe weather setup for some? Sure, but it weakens as it moves south. But a large severe weather risk area has been drawn. Really, it all goes all the way as far north as Chicago and almost Milwaukee, and as far south as central Texas. That is, again, the day 1 outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. Here's the one we would be interested in. This is their day 2 outlook, and they've got a level 2 risk in yellow across much of Texas, northern Louisiana, southeastern Arkansas, and the Mississippi Delta. Then a kind of a secondary area of higher risk, a level 2 risk. That's a slight in their world, that runs from about Buffalo back down towards eastern Kentucky. Now, within this, the main concerns are damaging wind. They've got a 2% tornado risk area drawn. You see it there. And I'll make the mouse big here because why wouldn't you make the mouse big? It's easier to see. They've got level 1 tornado risk. Again, back where we talked about a minute ago, when this happens in the daytime and we're closer to the better kinematic fields, back into North Mississippi, northwest Alabama, parts of southern middle Tennessee and southwest Tennessee, and then a low-end tornado risk up here into parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. The main threat is damaging wind. That's why they've got the level 2 risk, really. You see kind of, again, 2 areas there. Again, this is the day 2 outlook. Then the day 3, this all weakens to a point where the Storm Prediction Center outlooks what's called a general thunderstorm area. That means, could you hear a clap of thunder? Yes, but they don't expect any major problems with severe weather. And then in their long-range outlook, the days 4 through 8, they have a couple of severe weather pockets drawn on day 5 and day 6. So this would be out in the next week. I'll take you into the day 5 outlook. They've drawn a big 15% area for across roughly the same area that we have problems today. Now, in the discussion here, they talk about a developing dry line. You got a big baroclinic zone. So they're kind of go ahead and highlighting this with 15% probabilities. They say it may need to shift and expand northeast in time based on trends with model guidance, which could carry this up into more of the Ohio Valley. From a central and south Alabama perspective, though, this is all pretty far removed north of us. Now, by day 6, that's where I think you'd have to watch for, what happens after this. So again, this is valid out towards next Wednesday and next Thursday, around March 11th, March 12th. We've been highlighting that time frame for a while. There's still considerable model disagreement on what happens downstream here, right? Do we get enough warm, muggy air coming in from the south to really crank this thing up? And let's dive into that real quick here. We'll go back to the globals here, and the euro is almost in range at 6Z. It's not quite there, but we will, on the fly here, just sort of pop back to the national look, and that'll allow us to kind of, the euro goes out, again, 144 hours, which is 6 days, so that'll get us close to this setup. So this is this little storm scenario Saturday night. The euro is on board with the same idea I just presented to you for Saturday night. Weakening, fizzling band of showers and storms drops in. Then the front stalls, and there's leftover showers and storms around here for Sunday. Now, by Sunday, it gets warmer, but you still don't have the wind fields are very weak still. This is a forecast sounding valid Sunday afternoon. Again, a sounding is where we just sort of look up and see what the weather's doing above our head. Now, this is a model sounding, which means it is a computer's prediction of what the weather's doing straight up above my head. Weak wind fields, lapse rates are not great. Temperatures are relatively cool for severe weather, so it's during the daytime, yeah, but it really still doesn't help you out very much from a severe weather perspective, which is good news, right? Alabama's right down here, if that's hard to read. Okay, so fast forward in time, the front stalls, so we deal with sort of leftover clusters of showers and storms into Monday and Tuesday. They are hit or miss. Then we start to get this next system in view. So the front lifts back north, and you get this. This is historically a pretty decent rain and flooding setup for parts of the Ohio Valley back down into the lower Mississippi Valley, where you get this stalled frontal boundary, and then you just get wave after wave that goes along it because you've got a big cutoff low out here over central Mexico. Synoptically, that's usually a pretty good heavy rain and storm setup for them. Then we finally get that main cutoff low to eject out, and at that point, this would be out towards Wednesday night. Surface lows down here, front sagging south. We could end up spinning up a severe weather threat probably into Thursday, March the 12th. Now, this specific piece of data I'm showing you does not go out that far. However, fear not, friends. We can look at the 12Z GFS. Similar idea. It's a little farther south with that surface low. This would just be sort of a range setup for us with the surface low over the northern Gulf. Not enough cold air in place for wintry weather for us. Pardon me. But some rain in that mix, and then a shot of colder air. Then you get a big sweeping storm system, cold front thing comes through around March 16th and 17th, and we see another shot of colder air in that mix. And really, you just get into way out here in the science fiction land, multiple shots of cold air, multiple shots of thunderstorms. In other words, March, right? That's why, again, I'm telling you, I don't think you need to plant anything just yet, because long-range data here, this is the Euro ensemble, and I'll blow it up a little bit where it is a bit easier to see and read and comprehend, right? And let's make that full. I don't want to cover it up. So 80s the next couple of days. The front comes through. We see a slight cool down. Now, I'll note some of the operational data is a little colder than this, and we think highs Thursday, Friday probably stay in the 60s in some places. Not many, but I think not everywhere, but I think 60s are a pretty good forecast for Thursday, with storms Wednesday night into Thursday. Then we turn a little colder, and then evidence of another shot of cool air out towards March 16th to 18th. Notice, though, 60s in the afternoon, 40s at night. We do not have any data right now that explicitly shows another frost or freeze setup. Now, that said, any type of pattern where there's big kinks in the jet stream and we're dealing with an active flow pattern with cold fronts and storms, it doesn't take much to get a late season frost or freeze out of that. So this is the type of pattern, I think, where you still would want to probably avoid doing any kind of planting just yet. What about the drought situation? Okay, so what we'll do here, I'll show you the updated drought map, and then we'll talk rainfall totals, and then we'll wind this party down. So most of the Southeast is in drought now. This thing goes from Virginia, the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, Alabama. A big chunk of the Southeast is in drought. In the state of Alabama, the drought is at its worst down here in the southern counties, South and Southeast Alabama, and East Alabama. That's where we have moderate to severe drought now. In terms of rainfall totals, we'll go back, and what I'll show you here is not a model forecast. I want to show you the Weather Prediction Center's forecast. They do kind of some long-range stuff. And this is going to be a better product simply because it is coming from a human being, right? This is not just raw computer model output. And so what I'll also just zoom us in here a little bit so we can digest all of this. So this would be 7-day rainfall from the Weather Prediction Center. And notice most of North Alabama, the forecast is 2 to 3 inches or more. The 2-inch line goes from about Dadeville to Montgomery to Monroeville. And then here's the rub. Southeast Alabama, where frankly we need the rain the most, probably gets the least. I think down here from Eufaula to Brundage to Troy to Opp to Bruton and points south, there's a pretty good chance you end up on the short end of this stick with rainfall totals of a ½ inch to an inch in the entire week. Remember, in our part of the world, it takes about 1 inch of rain per week to even break even. So some of us are going to make up ground on the drought, particularly north and west of Montgomery. But remember, look at the drought map. North and west of Montgomery, frankly, the drought's not as bad as it is east and south of Montgomery. So this is yet another of those instances where we need the rain most down in southeast Alabama, and we get the least amount of rain. that happens in a drought a lot, I think, and it can be a little frustrating sometimes. So that's where we are with that. All right, 15 minutes is plenty of time, so we'll wind this party down. As always, thanks for watching, whether you watched on Facebook or on YouTube. I appreciate it as always. If you're not following me on YouTube, I would invite you to do so. Just go to YouTube and search Josh Johnson Weather and subscribe. I do a lot of these briefings there. And I post fun science and history and sports updates on YouTube as well. It's a fun place. So I hope to have you with us there. So everyone take care. Have a great day. And be sure to watch the forecast tonight. WSFA 12 News at 5, 6, and 10.